So many point to 1939 as the best year for movies. I mean, you've got The Wizard of Oz, Gone with the Wind, Stagecoach, Wuthering Heights, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. The list goes on and on and on. And then some people might point to like 1974 or 1975 or 76 or 77. I mean, the 70s is an incredible time for film. I have some favorites myself. 1994 is a year for movies. That means a lot to me. But if I had to pick my favorite year of movies, the one I do think is the best year for film is 1999. I'm definitely not the first one to think this. I mean, you go online and there have been countless articles that have talked about the richness, the insane variety of movies we got that year. There's even a book that was published in 2019 called Best Movie Year Ever: How 1999 Blew Up the Big Screen by Brian Raftery. Yep, another Brian R. I guess we think alike. And as we begin the new year, 2024, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling nostalgic for this most wonderful year of movies. 2024 does mark the 25th anniversary of 1999, and so let's talk about it. Let's talk about why this year was so important for cinema, why its influence has lasted for more than 2 decades. Here are the top 10 reasons why 1999 is the best year for movies. Here we go. Number 10, sublime screenplays. The screenplays that year, both adapted and original, are fantastic. They're full of personal touches, they take chances. I love the screenplay to The Insider. That is a film that got into the Oscars, including Best Picture of the year. The narrative is always compelling, the dialogue is sharp. Another great script from that year is Toy Story 2. Toy Story 2 could have gone direct to video. That movie could have just been a cash grab and nothing more, but instead we got one of the best animated movies ever made. I don't care that it's a sequel. This movie shows Pixar at the absolute height of their creativity, and it all starts with that dazzling screenplay. Number 9, amazing actors. Pretty much every great actor at the time has one credit or more in 1999. Obviously, one of the best performances of the year is Hilary Swank in Boys Don't Cry. She went on to win the Oscar in early 2000 for Best Actress for a film that was made for very little money, a movie that easily could have come and gone with very few people seeing it. I mean, it is a very hard film to watch at times, extremely dark subject matter, but it's done so beautifully by writer-director Kimberly Pierce, and it's acted so stunningly by Chloe Sevigny and Hilary Swank, you just cannot look away. Another outstanding performance in 1999 is Richard Farnsworth in The Straight Story, directed by David Lynch, of all people, a G-rated drama put out by Disney, directed by David Lynch. I finally caught up to this one for the first time a few years ago, and I adored with my whole heart that Richard Farnsworth performance. He is so lovely and sweet and true in this role. It was his last role in the movies, and what a way to go out. Number 8, visionary directors. 1999 was the year where great directors showed off their stuff in the most glorious of ways. It almost felt like some filmmakers thought, oh, the world might end on January 1st, 2000. Let's make my greatest work ever and get it into theaters before the end of the year. I mean, especially I would say in the last 3 months of 1999, it was pure magic. All of these hugely talented directors giving us one great film after another. It was totally thrilling. One of those great directors, of course, is David Fincher. One of my favorite films of 1999 is Fight Club, a movie that never gets old, never gets dull, always feels fresh and alive with an outstanding ensemble cast and David Fincher behind the camera. He had already shown what he was made of in Seven and The Game, but Fight Club put all of his talent on full display. I know Fight Club is divisive, not everybody loves it, but it is still, to this day, my favorite Fincher movie. And 1999 was the year we got the final film from visionary director Stanley Kubrick, Eyes Wide Shut. I do feel like that film has grown in stature throughout the years. I loved it at the time. Even at just age 14, I walked out of that theater in pure bliss. I think Eyes Wide Shut is haunting and dreamlike in all of the best ways. Stanley Kubrick was one of the all-time greats, and Eyes Wide Shut, which he apparently finished right before he died, still feels like a final glorious gift from Stanley Kubrick. Number 7, hilarious comedies. Now, comedy might not be the first genre you think of when it comes to 1999, but again, I was 14 years old that year, and I was seeing anything and everything, including the comedies. There are so many all-timers that year. American Pie, Bowfinger, Galaxy Quest. One of my favorites that year is Office Space, a movie I saw opening day in an empty theater. I spent months telling everybody who would listen, you have got to see Office Space. Nobody really knew what it was for a while. It did not have good marketing, but thank God it took off once it hit home video, and now it's considered a cult classic. It is a fantastic movie. Same with Election, which also had a quiet release, kind of bungled by its studio, but the genius of that screenplay and that cast eventually broke out. People discovered Election, how especially great Reese Witherspoon is as Tracy Flick. It's Matthew Broderick's best performance, and as much as I love Alexander Payne's Sideways, Election is still my favorite film of his. It is hilarious. Number 6, mind-bending action. 1999 was also a fantastic year for action films, some of which had wall-to-wall CGI, others that were made for a lower budget, and most of the action you see is in the camera. An example of that kind of film is The Boondock Saints, another movie that had a quiet theatrical release in 99, but then took off later as a major cult classic. It is so thrilling and inventive, a fantastic cast, wonderful direction. It's just an outstanding action movie. Same with what's probably the most beloved, most famous action film of 99, The Matrix. There truly was nothing like walking into that film knowing almost nothing. Back in 1999, I didn't always know exactly the movie I was getting. All I knew about The Matrix was that it starred Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne, and it was from the directors of Bound, which I had seen and loved. The Matrix is a timeless action movie classic, brilliantly scripted and directed and acted. It went on to win some Oscars, which was awesome, and it's one of the best films of 1999. Number 5, groundbreaking horror. So if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know I love the horror genre. Scary movies are my jam, and we had some great ones in 1999, some tiny gems that haven't lasted very well, like Stir of Echoes starring Kevin Bacon. The most groundbreaking horror film of the year is absolutely The Blair Witch Project, which premiered at the Sundance Film Festival. This is still to date one of the most profitable films ever made. The budget was basically close to zero, and then it grossed hundreds of millions of dollars. It's still to this day so haunting and powerful, it feels like you're watching a real documentary. And in 1999, it was so fresh and exciting, unlike any other scary movie we'd ever seen. Remember, we'd been watching a lot of Scream clones in 97, 98. We kind of knew what to expect from the genre by 99, and so Blair Witch Project came at just the right time. It is sensationally scary, especially at the end. And then a few weeks later, we got a more traditional horror film, but I would still call it groundbreaking in that it showed just how big and wildly popular this genre could be. M. Night Shyamalan's The Sixth Sense took everyone by surprise. I went into it knowing almost nothing, and that twist ending blew my 14-year-old mind like you wouldn't believe. The movie was a blockbuster hit. It went on to be an awards favorite. It got nominated at the Oscars for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor for Haley Joel Osment. The movie showed, like The Exorcist and The Silence of the Lambs before it, how a movie in this genre could be for everyone. Number 4, awesome animation. Now, I've already talked about Toy Story 2, which I do think is one of the best films of 1999, but that's only one of the great animated films from that year. We were treated with everything from the more traditional, like Disney's Tarzan, to the very subversive, like South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut. The South Park movie was an event in the summer of 1999, and our expectations were exceeded in every way. That is a hilarious movie. I'm so happy we can call it an Oscar nominee. And then at the end of the summer, we got one of the landmark animated films of the decade. Even though it didn't open big at the box office, it was a failure upon its release. This is another 1999 title that didn't hit with audiences right away, but it most definitely did upon home video and beyond. Brad Bird's The Iron Giant is a masterpiece of gorgeous hand-drawn animation, of marvelously entertaining and emotional storytelling. Oh my god, that ending, The Iron Giant, is incredible. Number 3, devastating dramas. 1999 is also, of course, a great year for the drama film. We got so many wonderful dramas throughout the year. Big budget, small budget, giant stars, unknown actors. Now, I know its legacy has been hit with some speed bumps throughout the years, but I still think American Beauty from director Sam Mendes is a terrific film. It's the kind of drama that has everything. A pitch-perfect screenplay, fantastic performances, stunningly gorgeous cinematography, and the narrative just keeps surprising you every step of the way. This was, at the time, my favorite film of the year. I wouldn't say that now. It is definitely, for many obvious reasons, a more difficult film to watch now than it was then. But there's still a lot to love about it, and I'm not mad it won all the Oscars it did in early 2000. The Green Mile was another wonderful drama from 1999, 3 hours long, but it doesn't feel it. You're engaged in one scene after another. Michael Clarke Duncan in his Oscar-nominated role is tremendous. Frank Darabont, whose previous film had been The Shawshank Redemption, also a prison film, also based on a work of fiction by Stephen King, is firing on all cylinders in The Green Mile. It is a magical piece of entertainment. Number 2, Big Swings. When I think of the year in film that was 1999, it's the big swings I think about. Filmmakers swinging for the fences. They didn't always work, of course, but you just had this sense directors were not holding anything back, and they were free to make the movies they wanted to make. There are so many years when many of the movies released feel safe, feel obvious, like movies we've watched 1,000 times before. That wasn't the case in 1999. Every time you walked into a theater, there was always this possibility of getting something new and original. Probably the biggest swing of the year was Being John Malkovich from writer Charlie Kaufman and director Spike Jonze. I mean, that is a project that on paper just seems unfilmable, unmakeable. Like, how do you convince a studio to give you money to make Being John Malkovich? I do think it's the kind of movie that never would be made now, but they got away with it in '99 and created one of the best films of the year. Talk about an original, a film that's constantly surprising you, going in weird, jaw-dropping places you do not expect. Everything about Being John Malkovich is dazzling. I do think it's one of the titles that makes 1999 such a special year for cinema. And then another big swing that I love, a movie that hasn't lasted as well, I guess, as some others at the time, but I still get a big kick out of it, is Go from director Doug Liman. This was his follow-up to Swingers, and it's got 3 stories. It's a little bit of a Pulp Fiction knockoff, and I know some people have criticized it for that reason, but I think it's yet another 1999 release that is constantly surprising you, full of original ideas, an amazing ensemble cast, a narrative that is always entertaining to the nth degree. I love Go, and I think it is a home run. And finally, the number one reason why I think 1999 is the best year for movies is lasting masterpieces. I mean, let's be honest, many of the films I've talked about in this video I would consider to be masterpieces. Toy Story 2, Fight Club, Election, The Matrix, The Iron Giant, Being John Malkovich, the list goes on and on. But there are still other masterpieces I haven't even touched on yet. One of the very best films of the year that I think gets better every time you watch it is The Talented Mr. Ripley from director Anthony Minghella. What an amazing cast: Matt Damon, Gwyneth Paltrow, Cate Blanchett, Philip Seymour Hoffman, and Jude Law in his Oscar-nominated performance. The film is lovely and sinister and always compelling. It is a masterpiece, but maybe the ultimate masterpiece of 1999 is Paul Thomas Anderson's Magnolia. It is a long watch, but every minute is worth your time. Talk about a sublime screenplay, amazing actors, a visionary director, a devastating drama, a monumentally big swing. That was Magnolia. And even though I love most of Paul Thomas Anderson's movies, he has made other masterpieces both before and since. Magnolia is his magnum opus. It is so powerful, so beautifully done. I adore the soundtrack, the various fascinating storylines, that amazing cinematography, and that all-timer Tom Cruise performance, one he deserved to win the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. Magnolia is just yet another spectacular film that made 1999 the best year for movies. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below, what are your favorite films of 1999? Do you think it's the best ever year for movies? We'll see you next time at the Awards Contender.